Hey everybody, it's Foxy here again, and welcome to another episode of Foxy's ApocalyptiKitchen. This is another ApocalyptiPickle day. Today I'm going to be making sauerkraut, which is an old European recipe. I've got my cabbage, I've got some onions. Red and green cabbage are both good. I like mixing them for extra color. I've got salt, of course, key for the pickling process. Move that away from that water. I've got some black pepper. I've got savory. I've got dillweed. And I've got coriander. This is another one of those spices you like it. Recipes call for other spices. This is what I have in my kitchen right now. I'm missing some other things that I might put in it, like caraway. But that's fine. It's still going to be delicious and salty and cabbagey. Right. Again, this is going to be short. This is going to be a quick video. You can do this with a chef's knife and just chop all of this stuff. Onion chopped fine, cabbage chopped coarse. I'm going to do it in my food processor again because I'm doing 4 heads of cabbage. I'm lazy, and my chef's knife isn't the best for doing this much work. So it's not gonna be doing that much work. And one other thing, you're gonna need some mason jar lids and some sanitized mason jars. I got 3 of these big ones here, so I'm hopefully gonna get them all in the big mason jars. I also learned a very valuable lesson last time. If you have seen my Mirepoix video, don't wear makeup when cutting onions. It was a terrible mistake. I have learned my lesson. I have a ton of stuff to process here, so I'm going to process it, and then I'm going to come back and show you the next step. Hey everybody, welcome back. Now, as you can see, I have processed my vegetables. I have a metric fuck ton of cabbage. I have a quarter metric fuck ton of onion. I've got my spices and my salt. I've got my mason jars. And obviously I have another container because I had too much cabbage for one of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this onion in half. I'm just going to use my hands because this is all hand stuff. I'm going to put half the onion, approximately a little bit more, in there, and then I'm going to get me some cabbage, and half the cabbage is going to go in here. I'm going to try to make sure it's a good mix of green and purple, so I get a nice mix of color in both of my batches here. It's just aesthetic, because, like, what are we doing if there's no purple, honestly? Okay. Start to dig in here. Get this a little mixed out there. I have a lot of sauerkraut. This is going to be like... So the cool thing about this is that this project... Got a little bit more to go over here. Is a project like this is enough... I'll probably have enough to be giving it away, because this is like a year's worth of sauerkraut for me on my own. Alrighty. Now, I've got my cabbage and my onion. I'm going to just pull that onion piece out. It's a big chunker. Big chunk onion there. Don't want that. Okay. These are kind of mixed now. I'm just going to give my hands a quick rinse. Okay, and the next one. Okay, so each of these herbs and spices, it calls for a teaspoon, which, oh, for fuck's sake. No. that's close enough. There's a teaspoon-ish. Okay. Again, this is a spice to how you like it kind of thing. But a little spice does go a long way, as always. And because I'm doing 4 heads of cabbage, you know what? Coriander, you can just go. Doing 4 heads of cabbage, you can be a little aggressive on the spices. 4 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons each one of these containers that I've got going here. Here's my dill. And another one. Okay, and then in this one, I might speed this part up. So this sauerkraut is one of those things, like I've always liked pickles, even before I was, supposed to like pickles. But sauerkraut is one of those things that like I'd go to the ballpark or like, I don't know, anywhere there's a hot dog stand, and it was this weird like vinegary oniony stuff, and it was gross. And then I tried a homemade sauerkraut with this recipe, and I was totally blown away, and it is now one of my favorite things to eat with like a salad or on the side with like a meat dish. So traditionally, something like a sauerkraut is going to be served with like a very fatty sausage or something like that. Like if you think of a traditional Eastern European farmer's breakfast, you've got like a fatty sausage, you've got some sauerkraut, you might have some schnapps, some rye bread, some butter. And so the sauerkraut, this fermented bacterial cabbagey stuff, is not only there to be like a vegetable and be healthy, it's there to use that acid and this this brine to break down the this is some black pepper. It uses that brininess to break down, help you digest the fats that are in the sausage and dairy. So it gives your tummy a little bit of an extra digestive boost. You hear people talk about probiotics, and they spend a whole bunch of money on it. Ooh, that was a little too much pepper. It's gonna be a little, pepper, black pepper. Okay. Yeah, you can get your probiotics just by eating ferments, which is a cheap, excellent way to do it if you can handle eating them. Not everybody can, but that's okay. All right, and it requires a fair bit of salt. So it's a tablespoon of salt per head of cabbage and onion. So it's 1 head of cabbage per onion. I have 4 and 4. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of salt in each one of these containers here. It's okay if you go a little bit overboard. This isn't like precise chemistry here. We're just starting a biological reaction in a controlled decomposition of our foodstuffs. How exciting! I mean, really, that's all cooking and eating is like a controlled decomposition so that our body can easily absorb the nutrients. How exciting! You learned something. Okay, I'm gonna get this out of here. My sink. All right, now we just dig in, and you're gonna thoroughly mix and massage the salt and cabbage and herbs together with the onion, and pack them into your mason jars. I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. This is probably gonna get sped hecka up after I finish talking to you. But I actually really like this part of kitchen. It's very therapeutic, and it's a good exercise too. You get some strengthening there. with all of this veggie massage. You want to make sure you get right down to the bottom. Make sure that salt and herb and onion and cabbage is all very well mixed together. So what's happening here, before, if you saw my carrot ApocalyptiPickle video, we made a brine, which was a water and salt mixture that we then immersed my carrots in. As you can see with the sauerkraut, though, we're not making a brine. What we're doing here is we're using the salt to draw the moisture out of the cells of the cabbage leaves and the onion. And that's going to create a natural brine for us. And it also allows, helps to break down the cell walls in the cabbage as well. That's a chunk of cabbage. Oof, let's get that split up a little bit. And like cabbage is cabbage, like most brassicas, which are like Brussels sprouts and those kind of things, is a very tough vegetable. Without cooking or some processing, same with like kale, it's very hard for us to digest. So, making sauerkraut helps to break down those cell walls and lets our body digest and absorb the nutrients in the cabbage. Okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill my mason jars with my sauerkraut mixture, which is mostly nice and blended here. I got some big chonker pieces every now and then, which I'm going to just break up a little bit. Okay. I have to double check. I think these are anaerobic reactions. So you're doing these reactions, creating this bacteria without a lot of oxygen. Otherwise it would just rot, right? Okay, so it looks like this is going to fill up really fast, but I got lots of little air pockets and stuff in there. So we're going to get... I'm going to try to get as much of it in the jar as I can instead of having it all over my table here. This is the kind of fun, messy kitchen project that kids like to do as well. Don't necessarily have them watch my channel because that's a disaster waiting to happen. But definitely something you can do with the kidlets. So I like these wide mouth mason jars because I can actually get my hands all the way in there and squeeze down my sauerkraut mixture. Here we go. So, like there's way more space than it looked like there was. We're just going to continue to fill. Some more mix there. It feels like it's kind of needs a little bit more mixing near the bottom, which I will do. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So I got a lot. Got a chunk of cabbage here. Metric fuck ton of sauerkraut. That's my official measuring system now. In the apocalypse, everything will be measured by the metric fuck ton. Or the metric fuck stick. Okay. Oop. Yeah, you see my brine is even overflowing now as I press this down. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to go all the way till I reach the top. This is a very messy type of project. Make sure you are wearing, obviously I'm wearing something that I can easily clean and don't mind getting dirty. Especially if you're doing it with this red cabbage, because it's going to stain like beets. So be cautious. Kind of turns into this cool like raspberry blue though. That's neat. Okay. as you can see, I have successfully soured some kraut. Okay, I'm gonna take this out of there. Oh, for fuck's sake. That was one of my 3 lids. So these are gonna get mason jar lids. I'm gonna seal them tight. I have to clean that one now thoroughly. Again, these have to be sterilized. Boom shakalaka. I'll be right back after I fix my embarrassment. Ring, get my lid, get my jar. Okay, there we go. Now I'm gonna tidy all this shit up, and I'm gonna come back and say goodbye. All right, welcome back. As you can see, I am sitting pretty here with 3 very large jars of sauerkraut. These are gonna take a couple days to ferment properly. You're gonna wanna come back to them every day or so and just like unscrew the top, loosen it slightly, what we call burping. So this is going to produce a bunch of CO2. The fermentation process is going to produce a bunch of CO2. And we are going to release that pent up energy about every 24 hours. And then when that's done, you can leave them out and they'll just continue to ferment like any other ferment. At about 2 weeks, you might want to put them in the fridge. It stops that fermentation process and like maintains their spiciness, their brininess, and doesn't make them too salty or briny or gross. I also like to put some paper towel or like another absorbent cloth underneath them because these are filled right to the top. That CO2 and fermentation might create some juiciness that squeaks through the seal. That's just going to protect your surfaces from any grossness. It will stain, but especially purple cabbage. It'll stain if it sits on a surface long enough. Just be cautious, so put something underneath. And I think that's it. Thank you for joining me for another episode of FoxxC's Apocalyptic Kitchen, ApocalyptiPickle Sauerkraut Edition. If you enjoy my show or my channel, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. I'll be doing these cooking kind of things throughout the quarantine and maybe longer because I really like doing this stuff. And I also have the main show, which is Fox Tales, and I do video essays and other stuff like that, so check it out. And if you really like what I do and you want to help me keep doing this, it would be amazing if you would become a patron or buy me a coffee. You can do that www.patreon.com/foxtails or www.coffee.com/foxtails. Anyways, I'm Foxy. Thanks for stopping by.